The war inside of Iran is escalating far beyond what many would have thought that this war would have escalated towards to this point. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, as the case may be. You are viewing the Political Blowback podcast, and my name is Steve Kostick. Thank you so much for joining us. We always appreciate the audience. We are a new podcast, and we love it when people come and chime in. And we do encourage people to like and share this video, as well as subscribe to the podcast, and we greatly appreciate that. There is quite an escalation going on inside of the Iran war, despite the words of Peter Hegseth quite recently, where he really downplayed it, and he even called the news media the fake news media, because they should be reporting that this war is just next to being over. And as days roll by, you're seeing that the war is intensifying, and it's getting quite complicated. And I'm going to share with you one of the most recent developments in just a few seconds. And this development could be quite significant. We had at one point last weekend, we had Donald Trump come out at the outset of the weekend, and he said that Iran had 48 hours to open the Strait of Hormuz, and if they did not open the Strait of Hormuz, his intention was, via his announcement, that on Monday this past, he was going to strike power plants inside of Iran. Of course, that never came to fruition, and when Monday came, he said, I'm going to extend the deadline to April the 6th. In the interim, what Donald Trump has done is he has bombed power plants inside of Iran. So he never kept his word again. And so at some point, if diplomatic relations are key to the resolution of this conflict, Iran is going to have very, very serious trust issues with the United States of America, and particularly with Donald Trump. And that's quite understandable. One of the developments that has happened within the last 24 hours is that the Houthis have now entered this conflict. The Houthis, of course, are indigenous to the country of Yemen, and they sit right at the mouth of a very, very important strait on the other side. So we're talking about the Red Sea, and many, many ships to the tune of 4 million barrels of oil a day are transported through this Bab al-Mandab Strait. It's actually 4.2 million barrels per day. In response to what Donald Trump has done, Iran is now saying to people who are working for corporations that are American owned or owned by Israeli concerns, they're saying, you know what, you better just get out of wherever you're at, get out of the country, because you're going to be at risk next. So this has opened a whole new can of soup here. Now civilians, because of the precedent that Donald Trump set, civilians are now potential casualties. And again, I've mentioned this in my previous videos, that this is a war crime. You just can't peg, the civilian population, and you can't tag them with your missiles. This is something that Donald Trump learned from Vladimir Putin, who's been doing this routinely now for the better part of the last 5 years in Ukraine. And the entire world because Vladimir Putin was doing this so consistently, the entire world got anesthetized to it and by somehow accepting it and saying, oh yeah, well, this is the way it is. This is normal. Well, you're getting normal now repeated, right? So the Houthis, getting back to the Houthis, there is a large propensity and there is great speculation that what they will do is they will close that Bab el-Mandab Strait, which essentially would now choke off another 4.2 million barrels of oil a day. You know, essentially, it's almost like you're taking the situation in the Strait of Hormuz and its impacts on the global economy, and you're doubling it. I mean, this conceivably, this could be devastating. And your guess is as good as mine where the price of a barrel of oil will go if the Houthis actually do close that strait. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see what happens. Donald Trump, of course, is, as all of you know, he is a multi-talented person. He's a multi-talented president. Nobody does anything better than Donald Trump does. This, of course, would be from his own advisement. And I learned something about him this week as well that I didn't know he had this talent. Apparently, one of his talents is he's a spectacular magician. And the reason I say that is because I've experienced it firsthand. Every time I go by and fill up my tank of gas, he makes a $50 bill just disappear. So you know, I'm sort of making light of it a little bit, but let's be honest. You know, can I afford just throwing $50 bill to the wind? Can a family of four that has enormous financial encumbrances in terms of having a mortgage or paying rent, or their food bill, their grocery bill is off the map, and they're stretched every which way to Sunday, and along comes Donald Trump and he says, I'm going to make a $50 bill every week just simply disappear just like that. And every week it goes further. The encumbrance to the average person, not only in the United States, but in Canada, Europe, in Australia, and around the globe. Money is disappearing every single day that this continues. The price of diesel, it's up to almost $10 a barrel, or $10 a liter in Canada. And now WTI crude oil is now hitting about $100 or over $100 a barrel. Domestic crude is also just a whisker underneath $100 a barrel. And these costs are the costs that every person has to absorb. I think the assumption here by Donald Trump is that, well, people are just a money tree. I mean, he came out like a couple weeks ago and he said, this is a small price to pay for people in the interest of peace. I see it a little bit differently. I see this entire war as pretty much a Ponzi scheme. And I see him playing up to Benjamin Netanyahu's whims more so than anything. We haven't seen any evidence that a nuclear threat from Iran was imminent. We just did not see that. So the national average gas prices in the United States is $3.94. Before this conflict started, the national average was about $2.96. So it's up about $1 a gallon. And the increase is about 33.1%. And the last time I checked, Brent crude was at $105.32, and that was up 5.4% most recently. A very serious situation that does not look like it's going to resolve. Now let's look at the overall cost to the taxpayer in the United States. I mean, yes, I understand this is costing everybody handsomely. People around the globe are out of pocket now for Donald Trump's idea. But let's look specifically at the Iran cost ticker. You can find that online. It's irancostticker.com. And the current numbers that I am looking at right now to the moment, 3:51 p.m. on Saturday, March 28th, the cost to the American taxpayer of this war effort is now $33,961,229,000 and some change. And the change rolls by so fast you can't even tell. You can't even make the numbers out. So anyways, 33,961,426,000, let's just say. And that's over 28 days, 15 hours, 52 minutes, and 34 seconds since this war started. Per second, it's costing the American taxpayer $11,574 every time the clock second hand ticks. Tick, tick. There's $22,000 right there. 2 ticks, right? Per hour, it's costing the American taxpayer $41,666,667 every single hour. The cost is staggering. Per day, it's about $1 billion. That's the estimate that most experts agree on. Now, there's also a human cost here. U.S. service members. There have been 13 U.S. service members who have been killed. There have been 200 that are wounded that we know of. The Iran military, there's over 5,000 Iran militia have been killed in the line of duty. Iran civilians, 1,500 civilians have been killed thus far, and 20,984 have been wounded. This is unacceptable. Unacceptable. You know who's suffering right now? The people who just want a decent life. They want to go to work. They want to come home. They want to pet the dog. They want to hug their wife or husband or their children, and they want to pay their bills. They want to go to a movie. Normal life is all they're asking for. 1,500 people in Iran apparently were asking too much, because the politicians, and that's why we call this program the political blowback, because we push back against political bullshit. And you got 1,500 people, and if you add it to the number that's wounded, you got 21,500 people whose lives have been severely impacted by decisions that were made by people like Donald Trump and by Benjamin Netanyahu, and to some, maybe perhaps a little bit of a lesser extent, the Ayatollah Khomeini. And again, this to me is totally, totally unacceptable. Take the politicians, lock them in the room, turn the key and say, go nuts. Have it out with each other. Just don't bother normal people who are just trying to live a decent life and get by. I think that's so important. Now, those costs that I mentioned previously to the American taxpayer, they don't stop there. I think you also have to realize that in diesel fuel a day, 125 million gallons of diesel fuel is consumed in the United States of America. Now, diesel's up about $1 as well. So there's 125 million extra dollars that Donald Trump is making disappear. He's such a talented musician or magician. Maybe he's a great musician too. I don't. Nothing would surprise me. I'm expecting to find out that he's an astronaut and an NHL hockey player, and probably plays for the Green Bay Packers as well. There's lots of stories that I'm sure we'll probably hear about at some point. If not those exact stories, something like that. Right? Now, just regular fuel. 367 million gallons of fuel are consumed every single day inside of the United States of America. We're not talking about other countries. Okay? They have the same problems now. But 376 million gallons per day. At a premium cost now of $1 per gallon. And it seems to be rising. So that's $376 million per day that the people of the United States are paying out of pocket to support this idea that, according to Uncle BB, remember Jared Kushner, that's his Uncle BB. They're all pretty tight. There's a club here, and you're not in the club, as George Carlin once said. It's a giant club, and you're not in it. So, suffice it to say, the costs are staggering, not only to the people of the United States of America, but to countries around the globe. And I dare say, this is just getting started. Because you've got the cost of fertilizers is skyrocketing, which means the cost of food is going to elevate significantly. The cost of airline fuel. I heard one report this week that said that a barrel of airline fuel in the physical market has hit about $300 a barrel. Okay? Now, these types of things are passed along to the consumer. And the consumer is going to have to live with the prices. Either that, or they're going to find creative ways to cut back on their demand so that it also helps to mitigate the prices. If this thing happens inside of Yemen and they close that strait, your guess is as good as mine where the price of a barrel of oil is going to go. I'm thinking maybe it might even go as high as $150 a barrel. I don't know if it'll stay there, but if they close it, that's like doubling the problem. Anyways, I hope I've given you something to think about. You have a great weekend, and please, if you have it in your heart, give us a like and a share, and please click that subscribe button. We are a new podcast. we're just getting going. We're having fun doing this. I'm having the time of my life, actually. And remember that democracy is a two-way conversation, not a one-way conversation. We don't use the king's formula here. So if you have comments that you'd like to share with everybody, please leave it in the comment section. And until next time, have a great day.